What's going on, you good humans? Welcome to guest episode 210 of Good Humans podcast with a pretty epic dude by the name of Makua Rothman. Makua is a Hawaiian waterman. He's a 2015 world big wave surf champion with the WSL and has had an incredible career when it comes to surfing. He's also had some pretty challenging times growing up in Hawaii with the last name Rothman. He is very, very well renowned, and there's been some challenges that he's gone through with his dad going to prison when he was younger, and then also going through a couple challenges in his late 20s, early 30s he spoke about in this episode. But it's so beautiful to see where Makua is now. He's come out the other side. He's an incredible father. He's a musician and he's traveling the world, and he's just put out a song with Wiz Khalifa, actually. Super, super cool stuff. I'm sure you guys are going to really enjoy this episode. If you do, leave us a comment, give us a subscription, whether you're on Apple or Spotify. It really helps us move up the rankings. Give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment as well. If you do enjoy the episode, make sure you send us a DM on Instagram. Share it both on your Instagram or anywhere that you want to tell people about this episode, because I really learned a lot from this episode. I'm sure you guys are going to get a lot out of it as well. And make sure, if you want to learn more about the Good Human Factory, my mental health organization, you can go to the show notes, hit the little links in there, and you can find out all about the workshops that I run, the merch that I do, and also other projects that we've got going on. So head over to the website, check it all out. And thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. Let's jump into it. Welcome to Good Humans podcast, Makua Rothman. How you going, Makua?
I'm good, brother. Thank you so very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, it's really exciting to have this chat. Obviously, I've got my background as a professional surfer. You're an incredible surfer, world champion, big wave surfer in 2015. You've got some of the most iconic, I guess you've probably got one of the most iconic last names in surfing. If anybody knows Hawaii culture, Hawaii surfing culture, the Rothman family name goes back a long time. So it's really exciting to get to know your story, learn about your upbringing, learn about what you're doing now, and the challenges you've faced. I know you talk a lot about mental health now and really trying to bring that aloha spirit and really change the culture to something that is, I guess, a little bit healthier, happier, friendlier to upbring, the youth of Hawaii into a place that was maybe a little bit different to how you were brought up. So the first question I ask everyone is, what are you grateful for right now, today in life?
Grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for another chance to be a better Makua than I was just an hour ago. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful to be here chatting with you, because I know platforms like this and people like you have done so much in your communities, that my story, being able to share my story at this moment, is is really a big part of the gratitude I have going forward in life today. So just being here today to share my story with you is what I'm grateful for.
Thank you, my man. Well, I'm really excited to get into it because, I feel like you've lived many different chapters in your life. Dare I say, we're going to probably go through a few of them today, from your upbringing to, your 20s and your surfing career to family life to music, like so many things we can go into. So what I want to start with, as much as you're willing to go into it, do you want to take us back to the start? Give us a bit of a highlight of what life was like as a kid, what your upbringing was like, because I know, there was some pretty heavy things went on in your life as a child. So do you want to take us through what your life was like as a child, so people get a bit of a snapshot to understand of where you've got to today?
Well, I guess in the start, mom and dad were getting cheeky, and and then I was brought to life. But it started June 17th, 1984, on the North Shore. Actually, in Honolulu, I was born in Kapiani Hospital, and started off in a really unusual family setting. I was brought into a family, like you said earlier, that was not just on my dad's side, but on my mom's side as well. Pretty influential, if you would say. And one of the first things I can remember was the cops breaking down my door and coming to get my dad, and ripping me and my mom out of the house, and really uh, started off with a lot of hatred in my heart, especially for the law enforcement side of things. And at that young age, you don't really understand what that does and what that will set the course for the rest of your life. It was, some people could say, an unfortunate situation. It was the situation that was, presented to me as a child, and it really shaped my future. And we're going to get into that a lot later in this interview. But it started off, some could say I had a head start, and some say I kind of started off one foot in the grave. So life wasn't easy. It wasn't, but nothing really is in life. So being where I am in life today, it's a lot easier to understand what was going on back then, and it was definitely interesting.
Yeah, wow. So, how old were you when you're? How old's that memory of your dad being taken away and to jail? Just for context of age.
Uh, that was 4 and 5, I believe, 88, 89, when his big case was. He was supposedly, allegedly, all these things, which never stuck. And what's funny is he was, I think the highest bail in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken, at the time is 5 million. And said, "Hey, why not raise it another million?" He called me the $6 million man, and uh, so I guess he was granted his wishes. So those
Yeah,
were, that's how it was back in the '80s, the late '80s, early '90s. It was kind of like a rodeo,
yeah.
bucking bronco at every turn.
It's different. It's like they ran like your family and that whole world was so different back then, even to it obviously is now. But it's kind of just slowly been evolving, I guess, away from that. What do you remember from that sort of five until, let's call it, to you're a teenager age? Was your dad in and out of prison in that stage? What was it your home life like at that stage? I might have read something or heard something that you were sleeping on the beach at one stage, like. Yeah, and tell me as well, you've got a few siblings. Obviously Koa, your younger brother's a very famous surfer himself, but you've got a few other siblings as well. So yeah, what was home life like from that five until teenage years for you?
I mean, honestly, being that young, even though you do end up sleeping in a tent on the beach, it's kind of like camping. You don't really understand the burden or the hardship that's really on the parents. It's really their their kuleana, as we would say, or responsibility to take that stuff on. And for me, it was, I remember sleeping on the little mat from Waikiki. You go to Waikiki, see all the tourists sleeping on the little blow up mat, and
Mm,
it was just like, to me, it was kind of like camping. I mean, it was definitely strange when there's no bathroom, or all those types of things. But it's so funny. The house that I'm sitting in right now, right here's the beach, and I'm sitting in a house, big house that sits right on the spot where the tent was. So like I said, that was a lot to do with strengthening my dad's fire, strengthening my fire at this point in life, and really setting us on a course of really shifting our consciousness, changing what was and what had to be, to choosing a different life, choosing a different path in life. And in my teenage years, it was, my brothers didn't come around till, I think, they're 10 years and 12 years younger than me.
okay,
So by
wow.
the time they were here, there was no real, the hardship, or that kind of pain through uh, suffering those kind of traumatic experiences wasn't really there for them. I mean, there was one later on in life for them that they came to get my dad at this house, but he was at my brother's mom's house down the street. And by the time they figured out where he was, that he wasn't here, they went over there pretty respectfully and took him out. So they didn't, it was later at night, so they didn't really have to deal with it. But any child that knows their dad's in jail, I mean, I really, really believe that's why I connected so much with the Maroubra boys, Kobe, and guys like Wayne Cleveland, and those guys when we got together, because was so much similarities to that home life that was real turbulent,
Mm,
and then the paths that we were on back there. It kind of clicked, and that was a second home for me in Australia. So for those of you that don't know, my early years, and even my early competitive years, um, a lot of my friends, your brother-in-law, a lot of people that I've spent time with, they really helped shape me from those traumatic years as a child to professional athlete, and really being able to bond with people that were trying to be better, that were trying to become professional athletes out of a hole, out of a situation where we're doomed for failure right off the out the gates, you know. And it's kind of cool to see that even just coming from a place like we did, getting into those teen years and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, which didn't really work out at the end, I would say. But finding people when you're at home and you don't have a dad or you don't have a mom or whatever it is, finding those type of people. And I really think that's why the youth nowadays suffer, because when they do come from situations like we were in, they find the same type of people. And a lot of the time it creates a toxic environment. So those teen years really were shaped by the earlier years in a sense that I found the same type of people and it led me down a dark path.
Yeah, it's fuck man, it's so beautiful to see where you are now because there's such a two different roads that can really happen in that space. And when I deliver my workshops for my high school and my corporate workshops, one of the first values that I say is really important for mental health, but I say is important for anything in life, is taking responsibility. And you can either be the victim or the victor in your life, or you can be the victim or the hero. And I tell this story that's kind of just a made up story, but this idea of those two mindsets, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate to this so much, is so I tell this story where there's these twin brothers who had an alcoholic father, and one brother ended up in prison, the other brother ended up at home with a happy family and wife. And this person got hold of the story. Why did they both end up with such different lives? So they spoke to the first brother in prison and said, "Why do you think you ended up like this?" And very angrily, he said, "With an alcoholic father like mine, how could I end up any differently?" Fair enough. So then they went and spoke to the other person, the other brother at home with his happy family and wife, and said, "Why do you think you ended up like this?" And he said, "With an alcoholic father like mine, how could I end up any differently?" Two very different outcomes in life because of two different mindsets. You know, there's a victim and blame, blame, blame excuses, and then there's the hero. And your story just says so much to me of like the hero. Like, you know, there's a villain and the hero, and you know your music label's called Villains for Good, and it's like, you know, as even you don't have to be the villain side of your story. You can, you know, a lot of good can come from a story that has come with a lot of challenge, and it sounds so much like that for you. So talk me through your teen years. How hard was it to not go down the dark path? And I know there probably was times that you did, and you'll probably admit that too. But then how important was surfing to you? And I guess there's multi questions here, take it where you want to go. But yeah, how important was surfing for you in, you know, staying off that dark path?
Well, I didn't really get into drugs and alcohol until later in life, you know, not till I was mid 20s, later 20s is when I really started to get into the party. And, you know, I won the World Cup, thought I was Andy Irons. And,
So
you
through
know,
your teen
really,
years, you're pretty good with that stuff.
lot,
That's
yeah. So that's what I was getting back to is teen years were it's a lot of good times, a lot of traveling, a lot of growing into, you know, I won the biggest wave ever ridden as a teen.
yeah.
And
Tell me about
and
that.
it
You're
really put
18,
me on the
right?
map for 18 years old, November 22nd, 2002, and won $66,000 for one wave.
Wow.
And was lucky. My dad, you know, my dad was around that time, and he got me to invest some of that money into the land. You know, a big piece of land we have, and so I really did have good guidance. You know, I really did have a lot of good people around me. There's a lot of Hawaii's really small compared to other places, and there
Mm,
are a lot of people that care. And I had a lot of good uncles and aunties that supported me. I had a great support crew growing up. It wasn't until, like I said, mid to late 20s that I started making bad decisions. And like you said earlier about the villainizing or villain and good guy, I really believe that we villainize ourselves. There's no blame, and it goes back to responsibility. We like to blame others for why we're in certain mindsets. It's really our inability to understand we have the power of choice. We can be whoever we want to be through that, and we can either choose to be a victim or a villain. And it's a lot easier when it's like, no, you did this, or you're gaslighting me, or you're. It's like if we take responsibility and do the next right thing, a lot easier to not become a victim or a villain. You
mm.
know, you can really tap into your true self and that comes with a lot of talking to yourself.
I'm really excited to keep working my way through this story because I think there's going to be a really nice story arc here of, you know, you winning at 18 years old, $66,000, putting yourself on the map, surf career ahead of you. Where did you think at that stage your surf career was going to go? Because, you know, coming from Hawaii, you guys have such a advantage in those Hawaiian waves, but then was like competitive small wave and that sort of surfing ever in your mind? Or from winning that, you know, $66,000, was it always like, all right, big wave surfing's a big thing for me? Because yeah, I'd love to go through your career to winning the World Cup, and then we talk about winning the world title,
Yep.
because dare I say the gap between World Cup and world title might be some of your darker days, but then the world title comes too. So yeah, let's talk through your 20s. What were your 20s like?
Well, it's crazy because once I won that wave at 18 years old, I really did buckle down. I went and trained with Rob Garcia. At the time, he was training Kalani. He was training Sonny Garcia. He was training Oscar De La Hoya for mega fights. And I really buckled down after that. And it got me, I one year I did really well. I think I made the 48th on the QS back then. It was just the QS was the, nowadays they have different words for the
Yeah.
challenger and blah, blah, blah. But it was just 6 stars and it was a lot more simple back then. But I got myself to, I think, about 58 or 48, I want to say, and I had a good chance coming into the year after to even qualify. Coming off of that big win at Sunset, I won the World Cup at that time, and that's the time I really started veering left. That's the time that I got to the Maldives, and uh, Dustin Barca was with me, and he told me I had these pills with me, and it was like, if you don't make your heat, then you can't do any pills. I'm like, okay, and I started making every heat. It was not a heat I was gonna miss, and whatever the inspiration was behind it, it was towards my late 20s. And I believe 2008 was that trip. And I think I could have won that event, especially if I wasn't doing, those types of things, because I beat Sonny. I beat so many great competitors on my way up, and I was on my way for a tear. And I lost to Kiko Bacoso, who ended up qualifying. I think it was Kiko Bacoso, Dustin Barca, Joe Centeo in the finals, all Hawaii guys, and I was right there banging with them. And from there on out, it kind of was a downhill spiral until, yeah, I couldn't win a thing after that. And then I went into my big wave part of my career when the big wave tour started. And man, I really got lucky with that. It was crazy. Between 2015 and 2008, I really went off the rails. I really did a lot of detrimental things to my health. I even had a child, my first child, Hikiana Leo, was born in 2014. And that kind of stopped me for a little bit. I was, the crazy things, I do pills and I'd be off them on a blocker when I'd compete. And it's just wild when I think about what I could have done if I had the mindset like I had previous, or post as of now. But um, I did good enough to win a world championship, even in
It's
that state of mind.
it's wild. But if you don't mind me asking, and I can edit this out as well if you don't want it in there. When you say pills, do you mean like opiates and stuff, as in like the stuff you see on
Yeah,
Netflix, like Painkiller
opiates.
and stuff?
Oh, full on. Yeah, I was with oxycodones.
See, because I've been watching those
And
docos, and I'm like, it's so fucked how addictive, and they just drag people in, right?
yeah, and the worst part about it is I just thought it was cool. I didn't have no pain. I didn't come from an injury. A lot of people are unfortunate where they are prescribed
Mm,
prescription pain medicine for an accident, and unfortunately they can never get off. For me, I believe that feeling, that dopamine hit, that rush that I would get, it really take away a lot of the things I didn't like about myself, the things I didn't like about my past.
mm,
It was really the solution to my problem. The drugs, the pills weren't my problem. I don't believe. I believe
mm,
I had a underlying mental health problem of identity, of shame, of guilt, all these things that I've been through that I wasn't man enough to take responsibility for. And I masked them with alcohol, and then it was cocaine. It was all of the above. Was up and down, and yeah, those documentaries, they are awesome to shed light, and it's really tricky because people make a lot of money off of that stuff,
Mm,
and it's hard because those things make you feel so good. They give you a false sense of
mm,
security, this warm blanket. A lot of the times, my knee surgery or any other injury I've had before that, even though I had pills, it still hurt. Pain didn't really go away.
mm,
It tricked my mind into thinking and forgetting about it because it got me so high that, yeah, for a minute there, it's just like any other pain, whether it's physical that you can feel it, or mental, or hurt in your soul. It takes you to a place where that no longer exists,
mm,
supposedly, right? It's there. You feel it every day. And it really does get worse with the more you try and mask it with something from the outside that's not really dealing with the actual underlying cause of whatever that pain is.
mm. Thank you so much for
And
sharing that. You put it
yeah,
so yeah, you explain it so brilliantly, and I really appreciate you being so honest in sharing that, because I know it's not, easy to admit the flaws of ours and the things that we've done that we're not proud of. But for you to share that, I think it really allows people, hopefully, to have empathy, because I feel like so much judgment comes towards people who, have addictions, who have problems when it comes to drugs or alcohol. And so often it comes with judgment, and that judgment makes it even harder to, look at yourself in the mirror and make change. So by people sharing stories and being honest about it and owning their story, I think it really gives other people permission to, put their hand up and be like, you know what, I need to change. What was the turning point for you? How did you find the strength to turn it around? Was there a moment? Was it your first kid? You said 2014. You kind of started to make some changes. What was the turning point for you?
no, it wasn't then. But I just want to go back to what we were saying earlier. Is I'm proud of it. I'm proud
Mm,
of where I've been and what I've done because a lot of people don't make it to this side. A
mm.
lot of people end up, like we said earlier, taking their life or doing a wrong pill or finding something because they can't get that fix and really lose their life. So
Or
many
end up
people
in
do that,
prison? Yeah.
and it's I'm proud of being able to face the shame, face the guilt. Um, I work so hard every day to be proud of myself, and I think that's one of the reasons I uh, got into that in the first place. One of those underlying causes was not being proud of myself, not being proud of where I came from or what I did, or I always surfed for other people's validation. Oh, you did good. I felt good because people thought I surfed good, or because I won, I was good. I searched for none of that. Absolutely not. I feel good being able to know that I did something correctly or I had messed up. I went back, thought about it. What was my thought process? I go back to thought process, or I go back to how did I mess up in this situation? I'll say
Mm.
sorry. Whether people like it or not, or they cast shame or guilt, that's for them. They got to deal with that. They really are the ones that are, you're this, you're that. They're casting all this stuff. Okay, cool. If you don't like me, I'm sorry about that as well. And if there's something that I can do to fix the relationship or the issue, I'll work at it. And so actually being proud of where I was and the things that I have overcome or I'm overcoming every day, all the little wins really helps me today. And I think a lot of people have to remember that same, all those things come from others. It's like an outside validation. It
Mm.
can only be, like in Hawaii, we say, you only shame if you steal and get caught. You know what I mean? So it's like you're stealing from your soul. You're really stealing from yourself. And people calling it out is you getting caught. You're shamed because you're doing something bad. You're doing something wrong. And you're really doing it to yourself. So a turning point for me really was getting hurt in the backdoor shootout 2023, I want to say. 2024, 24, 25, whatever it was.
A couple years
It
ago.
was when I got, yeah, when I got hurt at the backdoor shootout. Um, I'm lucky I'm not dead. I've competed, I've surfed in the biggest waves. I would go out the jaws with pills in a pill container, crush them up, snort them, and go back surfing jaws. And I'm just blessed that I wasn't drowned. Or in Fiji, when I caught that big wave, I thought that I was gonna die for real, and I was just hoping, okay, if I drown, whatever, but they can bring me back to life. I just hope I don't die. You know what I mean? Like, and if I do, then so be it. I was thinking that's when I popped up, and so many of those things go through my mind every day. But really having the moment of just being done, making up my mind that I want to be in shape. I want to live. I really want to live. I don't want to just exist. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of making up a story, trying to create every business under the sun. I got such a good idea until the real accountability comes into play when you have to really show up and work or do your part. Then that idea is not fun anymore. Or,
Mm,
it's, I don't know if there was one thing or the other. I was just really ready to stop
mm.
being addicted to substances and become Makua again.
Brother, thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing that. Your like self awareness and self reflection is so unbelievably mature, and the story that you've lived to be able to be talking like you do now is so special. It's a really big part of the work that I do, is this idea of moving from external validation giving you your self-worth to your internal values. Your internal values, I call, are like the compass that sends you on the right direction, but then your daily habits and actions start walking you in that direction. So it's like, it sounds really similar. Maybe it might relate to you the way I described that. This idea of like, what are your values? Like, is being kind to yourself, to others, to the environment important to you? Then take actions for that every day. Is, being grateful an important value to you? Then actually practice gratitude every day. Is being mindful and present in your relationships with, your family, with your friends, and actually being there, not being, off your head on drugs, or, being not present on technology. Like, is that important to you? Take those actions. And it sounds like you've really, found this really solid set of values, and you're taking those steps right now. So as you already have said you are, and, I am, as someone who's, probably feared you for a long time in my life, not feared you, but just the concept of, a Rothman, the concept of these gnarly Hawaiian guys. I mean, to be honest, I've always had really positive relationships with the Hawaiians. I feel like I'm a very respectful, like, bit of a pussy. So I've always like done my time and been very respectful. But to hear the way that you're speaking right now, I think is just turning such a beautiful, not new light on Hawaii, but it just seems like a new light on you, Makua Rothman. Like, it's so special.
Yeah, it's gonna sound weird when I say this. It's gonna sound pretty selfish, but I really do the things for me. Because if I do something for someone else, it opens up the door for me to be able to blame someone else for my shortcomings. And I have to be self-aware. I have to
Mm,
have self-control, right? And all those things come with the work that you do for yourself. And I think a lot of people have blurred vision when it comes to, oh, I do these things for myself. Or you're supposed to do things for others. Well, if you do too many things for others, you forget about yourself. You're going to lose yourself. There's going to be a point where you do so much for everybody else, you don't have time for yourself.
mm.
And I
I
don't
think,
mean to say that in a negative light. I mean to say that if I'm doing what I can for myself, the best of my ability, it's gonna show that light, that vibration that I'm creating is gonna be infectious to others. When my words and my actions meet, it's called integrity. And a lot
mm-hmm,
of people forget about that. They want to throw all these other buzzwords around. But if your actions don't meet with your words, you can't have kindness. How do you be kind and mean to someone? You can't be truthful, right? You say
mm,
one thing and do another. There's no truth in that. So really understanding that showing up with aloha, I believe, my aloha, my true self. And if I want to do that, I have to do these things to better myself, right? And then I really believe if we become the best versions of ourselves, other people will follow that. Because when
Mm,
you're a really bad person and that's the narrative and that's the group of people you're hanging out with, other people want to be like you
mm-hmm,
because you're cool, right? And so that negative vacuum that you create really sucks people into thinking that doing these things is the right thing to do.
mm,
So if I'm shifting consciousness and shifting my way of being to a brighter side, or trying to create light for others around me and to do other things for other people, I believe that I first have to become the best version of myself, and that will really be the strongest way. The best way that I can help someone is to show them going from drug addict, from athlete, from all these crazy things to the best version of myself. I had to work on that a lot,
mm.
right? And to present this to someone, I think that's the showing those wins and really bringing people along my journey. Podcasts like this, I have a stage now that I get to perform on. People are like, "Oh, you get to do this, you go out and you're living your best life and blah blah blah." I hear all this stuff, and for me, it's really about being able to show up in a place nobody knows me in some part of the world and share my story on that microphone between songs as well. And just
Mm,
the words that I write in my songs resonate with people who don't speak my language. They don't, like I said, they don't know me. But when I come with the story that I have and showing how I became or how I went from here to there, uh, and the steps that I take for myself, if other people feel that they're stuck or in a situation and can relate with that, maybe they'll take a few of those things and use it in their life. So I think that working on myself and being the best version of myself, it really helps others more than trying to do everything else for everybody else around me.
I completely agree, my man. It sounds like you're doing so much good stuff. Let's talk now on your music career. You obviously just alluded to being on stage and getting that chance. I mean, I guess the goal is probably to be the biggest surfer gone musician, but I think Fisher will have something to say about that. But let's talk about your music career. You're up on stage. You just brought out a song with Wiz Khalifa earlier this year. That's fucking massive. So yeah, talk to me about your background, how important music's been to you, and yeah, a little bit more about the music career that's just really starting to take off.
Well, I mean, Fisher, since we want to mention Fisher, he's been such a big inspiration to me because we were competing in the same events. We traveled together. I used to hang out with him a lot during these events and in the professional surfing days. And to watch what he's done, and that's why I talk about all the little things. I seen him go from little stages. I seen him go, him and Seds back in the day when they first started doing
Cut snack.
DJing and yeah, and really navigating that. That didn't happen overnight. And as much fun as everybody sees Fisher having, excuse my language, he worked his fucking ass off to get where he is. So he deserves every single thing that he has. And I really enjoy watching his story because it really fuels my fire to come from the same place he came from. And that's why it's so important because we've come from these shitty upbringings and a lot of negativity in our lives and are shifting our way to a better way of life, a better way of being. And I hope children have the same addiction to watching other people flourish and trying to emulate and use a lot of the things that, like I said, Fisher has done. He's done it. He's got there. He plays the biggest stages in the world. He worked hard and he earned every dollar, every fan, everything. And I really appreciate Fisher and what he's doing because he really is, like I said, a big inspiration in my life to when I go on stage, other places in the world, to show up and give people a good time. A lot of the time, music, I have a new song coming out called Medication. And a lot of the time, music is healing. People get to go to these events and these concerts, and everything disappears. Every negative thing, all this life that they might not want to have to deal with every day really disappears because they can immerse themselves into something they connect with, whether it's Fisher's story, his music, whether it's Bob Marley and his music, whether it's myself and my music. When people come, that's really a healing experience for people. They get to be in there, they get to sing, and they get to feel wow, and all that great feelings that they get getting lost in that music. I watch people, I watch them, I open up for a lot of people as well, and I watch those sets, and like people close their eyes and just feeling that music. Music is healing, it's vibration, it's sound, it's
Mm,
megahertz, it's all these things that touch the deepest part of your soul. And that's why I
mm,
think it's so important to share your stories through that. And people, it really makes me feel good to get out there and rock and roll with people around the world. It's
mm.
I mean, it's to me it's almost a better feeling than surfing.
Oh yeah, standing on a big stage and like sharing your story with people is pretty powerful. One other thing, and thank you for speaking so nicely of Fisher. Obviously, he's my brother-in-law and the father of my beautiful niece Bobby. As a father yourself, and the way we've spoken today, I think you'll probably agree with this. Is the way that Fisher is with Bobby and my little niece and his daughter something that's also inspiring to you? There's all the accolades, there's all this, but you as a father yourself, how important is being a father and, being a positive role model to your children, in this next chapter for you?
My children and my wife are my biggest teachers. They're my biggest teachers because no matter what I tell my children, usually they don't listen. I mean, to a certain extent, right? I could tell them, don't do all these things, but if I'm doing those things, they're watching me. They're very intelligent beings. We might think they're young and they're this and that, but they watch way more than any grown up because they're still trying to learn all the new things, right? And they go by results, they go by accountability. They really hold parents' responsibilities, hold them to their responsibilities because
Mm,
I could tell them one thing, if I do another, that's what they're going to do, right? And I'm not sure how far in Fisher is with his children, but my children are 14, 11, and 8.
mm,
And they call me out on my stuff nowadays. They'll tell me, Dad, you told me this. How come you're doing that? So children like that, then they are my biggest teachers because even with the creativity that my 8-year-old has, he can be anybody he wants to be. He can be Superman, Spider-Man at one point. He's over there playing with his toys. He's in his own world. Going back to music and creativity, without that imagination, without that connection to a higher power, a greater vibration, we aren't able to come up with those melodies. You're not able to come up with tapping into that inner child to write that story that connects to someone around the world that can connect with you, that can become a fan, that can share it with someone else and heal someone else's life with it.
mm,
That's really, I take a lot of inspiration from my children and their ability to not have the noise of adulthood or of the greater world and really be whoever they want to be and be creative to a level that people are like, oh, he's just being a kid, but
mm,
as artists, I really think that's the most important thing I can have is creativity. That most important thing I have is my imagination. So
mm,
imagine this out of thin air and bring it to life and be up there and be that person in that story and share that from within. It's almost like I'm being a version of Spider-Man or Superman up on that stage in front of these people and really being immersed in it because they're gonna know if you're faking the funk or you're really into it and you're really delivering a message.
mm. Yeah, I
The
can
fans will
imagine.
be the first ones to tell you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, yeah, or they're gonna be like,
yeah. The
and
authenticity shines
if
through.
you yeah, exactly. So that's why I say my my children and even my better half, she's relationships are like business or like anything. I can either give up when it gets hard and dig out on my family, or I can really sit there and figure out how do I navigate this relationship with somebody I say I love and mean it. Or how do I get into business with these people going down the world with villains for good or whatever it is? it's the same thing. I need to create relationships with these people that I work with for
Mm,
greater good, for my family that I'm creating for Villains for Good, for my family that I'm creating with my wife and my children. It's tough. It's very challenging, but I take a lot of stuff from my home life and bring it to my business. I try not to take my business garbage and ever bring it home. I like to do
mm.
it the other way, learn things with my family. How do I become a better negotiator with my kids, my wife, so that our family becomes a better group unit? How do I take that experiences and maybe failures there and see things in business that are like, hey, this is like an ohana. I'm working with 10 people,
Mm,
20 people as the business grows, as the people on stage grow, as the production crews grow. How do I, as the leader of this family, give my team the best chance and resources around and see how the communication can get better, better communication, better business practices,
mm.
better for everybody that's involved. So I really believe my children and my wife and my family is one of my greatest teacher right now in my life.
Man, there's just so much beautiful awareness and love you can see that you have from for your family, and only wanting to bring the best from them to your business, and not have to like you said, the other way around, bring the challenges that sometimes the businesses can provide us, and take it back into the family. Lastly, let's just talk about Villains for Good, your music, and what's coming up, where people can listen to it. You're touring, I think, in Australia and a few other places. This podcast will be probably predominantly listened to by Aussies. So, yeah, tell me about Villains for Good, where the idea came. It's your record label, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the music coming out. Tell us about your song with Wiz Khalifa, Clear the Air. Sorry, once again, very loaded question, but yeah, give us a bit of a plug around Villains for Good, what the vision is for
Villains for good. You're looking at them.
it.
A lot of guys. I mean, you look at guys like, and he said it's gonna be somebody else. You look at a guy like Wayne Cleveland. Look at his story, where he's come from, how solid he's been, and what he's trying to do nowadays, and how he's turned his life around. And that guy's inspired me from one side of the line to the other, getting
Mm,
sober, staying solid, having relationships with his children. Um, Villains for Good is really a mindset. It's really you know, when you wear this, it's being part of a greater ohana. We are all villains for good. We all villainize ourselves in one way or the other, like we are speaking to earlier. Whether you
mm,
are doing bad things, guess what? If you're gonna do bad things, do it the best that anybody ever did it. Take all the right steps to do it bad. If you're really gonna do that, because there's gonna become a point in your life where the cops, God, or hopefully yourself steps in and goes, "This is gonna stop." None of that stuff, that negativity will catch up to you. So if you're gonna do it good, because there's gonna be a point, and you better be conscious enough to understand when that point comes, when to pivot, how to pivot, and what little steps you're gonna have to be proud of along the way. Because if you try and go, you want to go from street gang thug to hero overnight, it won't work. You're gonna go right back to what you were doing.
mm,
There's a lot of little steps that they might not be exactly what I've done, exactly what other people done, but you really have to look at how you can be proud of yourself accomplishing whatever little steps you take, whether it's one day,
mm,
whether it's an hour, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's just going 10 more feet. Can I go 10 more feet? Can I do one more rep in the gym? One more.
mm,
You know, really understanding how important physical activity and being busy is. How
mm,
important just oxygen is, breathing. The more oxygenated your blood is, the better you can think. A lot of people think you know, do crazy workouts, just get outside, go for a walk, do something physical, be active, inspire others to take a walk with you, do a breathing exercise, whatever it may be. Fitness for Good really is to help people shift consciousness, to collectively come together, whether you're good, whether you're bad. It's all going to come to a point where we have to make very critical decisions in our life. And I want to get together as many people that have had to make those critical decisions, that made the right decision, to be able to share our stories as villains, whether it was on the streets, whether it was in business, whether it was just in everyday life, a regular person that was really frustrated by life and made a life changing decision to be a better person, because not everybody has to be on drugs, not everybody has to be a gangster, not everybody has to be whatever. We all struggle with life, period, and that's what Villains for Good for. It's a collective consciousness to help shift that in a brighter light. And yeah, I mean that's where I'm at. That's where I'm going. I mean,
Sound.
oof.
Yeah, it's powerful, bro. It's just so special to be trying to, help people turn their lives around, help people see the light, and help people be on a better path. Just lastly, what's the go with your tour for your music? You've got new songs coming out every 5 weeks. I think I heard somewhere. Recent song "God and the Devil" is amazing. I listened to that soundtrack before we jumped on. I can feel it. I can feel the like. Yeah, it's got a nice jingle to it too. I love that. So yeah, what's the plans with the music?
Next song is Medication. I'll take accountability. I didn't meet the 5 week goal this last one, what I said on
It's all
Jamie's
right.
thing.
I know it's bloody
But
hard
we're
with
back
music
on
to be on
track.
track. It's so many other things, moving parts that sometimes it's out of your control. I can imagine.
Anything that's worth anything is going to be hard. Just remember that. Because if it's easy, if it was given to you, you're not going to respect it.
And everyone would be
And
doing it.
everyone will be doing it if it was easy. So Medication is coming out next. I want to say thank you to Australia. I was in Australia doing a tour there. Lots of fans, lots of people came out. Australia is one of our highest engaged countries. And I
Nice.
want to say thank you so much to the people of Australia, not just because of my music. Bear with me for a second. For all the love and aloha you folks showed me. We might have a word for it here, but you folks in Australia have showed me so much love, so much aloha over these years. I really do feel like it's home to me. And a lot of people ask me, where's your favorite place to go in the world? I've been to so many beautiful places. Australia has to be my favorite place outside of Hawaii. It really is. I don't just say that because this is an Australian podcast or, this is around the world, but mostly Australian fans and all that stuff. I really love you guys because you folks are hard loving people. And you guys love hard all the way, just like us here in Hawaii. So I just want to say thank you guys for that as well. Like I said, Medication, new song coming out July 18th. Medication will be dropping. I wrote about my broken life. It is my medication. It's a song, a testament to what we are just talking to each other about, why you keep on pushing me. I've done the best I can. You know how far that I have come to be a better man is some of the lyrics. And music, like we are talking about before, really is that healing vibration that music can have on people. It could be the thing that sparks that life-changing decision in people's lives. And that's why I really believe it's healing. And I don't have any tours lined up at the moment. We'll be at Ohana Fest. I know that as of now. We're working on some tours right now, working on growing Villains for Good as well. Possibly getting close to adding another artist to the group. And
Nice.
we'll let you guys know more. You can go to villainsforgood.com. You can go to makuamusic.com. My socials, you can go to Instagram at Makua Rothman. And
Oh, mate.
I hope sooner than later I'll be back in Australia.
Well,
But
thank you
as
for
of
all
now,
that.
that's the plan.
Yeah, well, thank you for all the love to the Aussie crew. I feel very grateful to live in Australia, and I feel very connected to the Hawaiian culture. I've had so many friends that are Hawaiian, so many people throughout my surf career that have really taken me in and shown me a lot of love. So likewise, back at you, Hawaiian crew. Have always shown so much love. Got so much love for so many of the families that always take in all the international surfers and take care of us. So likewise, back towards you. What I will leave in the show notes as well. This episode's probably going to come out right around July 17th, so whatever date you just said.
Yep.
So if you are listening after
Perfect.
that date, it will be in the show notes. So go listen to Medication. I'm going to leave in Clear Air, the Wiz Khalifa song, and God and the Devil as well. So go check out Makua's Spotify. Go check out his music on YouTube and have a listen. It's pretty epic. So I'm really excited to see where the music career goes. I'm going to ask you two last questions. One, I just wanted to ask you this question because I know my answer to this question is always pipeline, but what's the scariest wave in the world for you? As a big wave world champion, someone who's surfed some of the scariest waves in the world, what's the scariest wave for you in the world?
Scariest wave in the world. Scariest wave in the world for me was riding the wave of addiction.
Very well put.
um, I prepared my whole life for every wave. And I think it was when I was unprepared for life that I was scared of every wave. I didn't care if it was Huntington Beach. I was a time in my life where I could barely hold my breath, one small shore break wave. And I was more afraid of a beach break than anything, you know? So I don't really have fear. I have respect for every wave because a lot of the times the smallest waves hurt you the most because your guard's down.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from my culture in Hawaii, we respect the ocean. That's where we came from. That's what gives us life. So I really am not afraid of waves. I'm just maybe more afraid of being unprepared
That's very
than
well
any
put.
wave.
That's very well put. That is extreme. I always say to people Hawaii because, as you'd know better than anyone, I mean, probably not. You probably know worse than anyone that it's a bloody hard place to get a wave at. I mean, you can paddle out and just paddle into the ones that you want, but pipe's just the scariest because it's so shallow and sharp. But you just, for someone like me, don't get to take off in the best spot, so it makes it so much more dangerous. I feel like with the bodies out there,
I mean, technically, it probably is the most dangerous wave. It
for
probably hurts
sure.
the most people, and the most
Absolutely,
people died, and whatever it was. I don't know if there's a stat for that, but pipeline is definitely, I would believe, the most dangerous wave.
for
And
sure.
a lot of people are afraid of that place. I believe is because they don't get the good ones. They usually get the ones that are more dangerous, more frothy, more in between, more on the ledge. And the boys who are the boys are usually on the best ones.
Yeah.
And those ones are usually easier to take off on, honestly. And I think that's why people are afraid because they usually have to take off on such crazy waves when it's their chance that I'd probably be afraid of that too.
Yeah, well, maybe one day if this podcast goes viral and someone notices me, you might be able to call me into a mediocre one when I get back over there to Hawaii one day. Hopefully, I know it's funny
Hopefully
after
this
this.
podcast goes viral and one of my songs go viral so I can do a collaboration with that there Fisher there.
Oh, you keep getting on his
And
case.
jump on stage with him. One of his,
Yeah.
they're saying, Fish,
Oh,
just saying, if
that's
you
all
know
right.
anybody.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him to wear one of my I've been trying to get him to wear one of my Good Human shirts on stage DJing for 5 years and it hasn't. I've been trying to get him on the podcast for 5 years and it hasn't happened yet. So he's a bit like that, but nah, I'm
No,
sure
but you know what
as
it is going back to what I said. He's worked for everything he's got up there on that stage, and I've been in contact with him a lot. I've been sending him songs, and he just tells me straight, "This is not the one. This is not really where I'm at," and I appreciate that because our relationship goes beyond music, goes on beyond like, oh, you don't want to do a song with me? I traveled with you all these years. I did this and
it's not
that.
like that.
There's gonna be a time when the right song comes and we're in the right place together that it's gonna happen. I know it is. And to be able to bounce songs off of someone like that who's been through a lot of stuff lately, it's probably in my eyes the biggest DJ, if not one of them on planet Earth right now. Cheers to him. It's good to be able to bounce ideas off of him and say this, that, and give his feedback. It's awesome to have a friend in that position that is readily available to say, hey, this or that, or give me notes. I really appreciate that.
No, it's cool. He's great like that to be able to have that support and that connection from the surf world to then bring it in. It's crazy and so beautiful to watch how he has really brought along a lot of people along the
Mm-hmm.
journey with him and always gives people that great experience. But man, this has been a beautiful chat, super eye opening for me. Like I said, I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to chat to you at this stage in your life. Obviously, through my career, I've met you and seen you out in the water, and we've had never a close relationship, but to have a chat with you when you're in this stage of your life. I'm in this stage of my life. It's really beautiful. I do finish the podcast with the same question for everyone. So, what does being a good human mean to Makua Rothman?
What does a good human mean to Makua Rothman? It means exactly what you said, being a good human, doing what you know you're supposed to do.
Very well put. And I related a lot to the song name that you just put out, God and the Devil. I feel like we all have a God and the devil on both shoulders. Which one you're going to listen to? That's what I feel like your inner good human is, listening to the God more than the devil.
Well, everybody asks me, what's that song about? Is that your mom and your dad? Is that this and that? And it's just, that one's for every human on earth that has to listen to one side or the other. You know, we all have temptations. We all have whatever it may be. And we are the child of our thoughts. We are the being of what we think.
Mm,
And it comes to a certain point in life when we get to a certain age that we need to be in control. And I believe that's why you call it self control. And it's probably one of the hardest things to control is yourself. And we're a product of basically every cartoon or everything you've seen has been a god and a devil on the shoulder, right? It's all the
mm,
references. So, and that was me. So make sure you guys think pure. And bad thoughts come, they're gonna come. Bad intentions, bad, all kinds of things are gonna come. Good ones, bad ones. Sift through them. Do your best to talk yourself off the ledge. Talk yourself into a better place. Really have a good relationship with yourself. I believe for me, talking with myself and asking myself, is that really the right thing to do? How does this benefit you? What is your intention? Intention without action is nothing. Everybody wants to talk about all these intentions in life. You intend to be a good human, right? We all want to be a good human. Nobody wants to do the work that it takes to be a good human. You're not going to be a good human. So,
mm.
um, I
Can I
really
ask you one
think
more
that,
question just on this while we're in
yes.
this space? I'm just really curious when you say it's like doing the work and like talking to yourself. Do you have any practices or is like meditation, breath work, or any of these things like a daily ritual or frequent ritual in your life that have helped you build that relationship and that self-awareness? You get that? Is there any like
Yeah, working out. Doing the
working outs
first
that for
hard
you?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, working out gets me, physical activity. First thing in the morning, I wake up, training by 6 a.m. every morning. I rarely take time off from that because I talk myself through, yeah, I don't want to do it as hard. I don't want to do another rep. No one's around, I'm training by myself. So if I do 9 instead of 10, like just cheating on all those little things is going to translate into the rest of the day. But making sure that I put my best foot forward to keep myself in the best shape. I get new oxygen, new blood, circulation in my body, all that stuff, all the things that my body needs to survive happen in the gym, right? Big breaths, more oxygenated blood, moving the stagnant blood around, getting my place to overcoming a hard thing. First thing, get my mind working hard. You can grow the prefrontal cortex or whatever that part of your brain is. You can
Mm-hmm.
grow your brain through hard activities. So doing that and really pushing myself in the morning time, first thing, the rest of the day, I can go back to what I've started. First actions, getting up, drinking a big cup of water, lemon, minerals, salt in the morning, getting that hydration into my body, breathing, pushing out all that stagnant air from the night before. And that all goes through a process every day. I work out, I overcome something hard. I put a obstacle in front of me, first thing in the dark, watching the sunrise. I overcame an obstacle that I didn't want to do. That wasn't easy. It wasn't fun. Well, guess what? I got through that, and I did that to myself. I self aware of being able to push myself 10 more feet, one
Mm,
more rep. And I know that that translates into the rest of the day when I do fall into a mindset of uncomfortability or, my mind wanders or drifts into that place. Hey, pay attention. You got to be aware. Get that
mm,
back on track. Let that thought come. Let it come. Push it.
mm,
Push it through. Process it. How do I come out? How does that? Is that thought gonna? Sometimes we get stuck overthinking. Oh, this is gonna happen. Blah, blah. We live this life that never even transpired in real life, and we suffered all that pain and suffering. Nothing even happened. So being able to catch those feelings early,
mm,
I believe working out in the morning gets me to be able to be aware of those feelings or those thoughts when they come. Like, they're here. Move on. Live in the now. I just look at my hands
mm,
sometimes, like, I put rub my hands together. I look like, yeah, I'm here. I'm present. I'm this is where I'm at. This is where I got to be living. This is where I got to be conscious, not drifting off into Neverland, thinking about some problem that I have or what might happen
Mm.
over here. Think about right now and what's the next best thing for me to do. Take a deep breath, okay? Let that go and push on with the day.
Mate, so beautifully put it. It reminds me a lot. You might have heard this before and probably heard of Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL. His saying of discipline equals freedom. I think just like sums up perfectly what you said. Like, if you don't have discipline, you don't have freedom. You're at the wheel of the drug. You're at the wheel of the no. You're at the wheel of, like, when you have the discipline, then you have the freedom to say no if you want to, but you also have the freedom to say yes if you want to. And that's, I think, the biggest form of self-love is that self-respect, is that self-awareness. So anything you want to say to that before we
People
finish?
forget. People forget. That's why it's called self control, self awareness, self love, self respect. They want to go out and find all these other things to help them get all that stuff when it's all right here. Close your eyes, talk to yourself. Working out, doing something really hard in the morning is going to get you aware. Because if not, you're going to drop the weight on your head. You're going to start, there's a lot of things that working out can work out
Mm,
for you. But I really believe, I don't even have to believe it, I know it. It starts with the self in here.
mm,
This is where it's at. You don't need to look anywhere else. If you can talk to yourself,
mm,
close your eyes. Guess what? Guess who's listening? You're listening.
mm,
Talk to yourself. Be kind to yourself.
mm.
You know,
Well,
I love you guys.
I think that's a beautiful message to finish. So make sure you check the show notes. Go listen to Makua's music. Go type in Makua Rothman on YouTube. Go look at some of his big waves. World champion back in 2015. World Cup winner 27. 66-foot wave at 18 years old. You've done it all, and it's so beautiful to see what's come out the other side. Looks like you're on a really beautiful trajectory in this next chapter of your life, raising your children, being a great positive role model. The music going, from strength to strength. Villains for good. Really trying to change the culture of Hawaiian surfing to something more positive for the next generations. So respectable, so much love for what you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing it on my podcast, my man.
Yep. We're not going to try. We're going to make it happen.
Hell yeah.
Aloha.